In this lesson, we will be looking at business ownership and types of businesses. Make sure that you fill out your chart as you follow along. So what can be purchased? Businesses provide either a product, a service, or a combination of the two. A product is a durable good that consumers can purchase. Example, a car, clothing, and food. It's something that you can hold in your hand. Whereas a service are activities that consumers can purchase to enhance their lives, such as a haircut or a car wash, and it's not something that you can hold in your hand. So is a business large or small? A large business is considered a business that has more than 500 people working for it. A small business, or small to medium business, has less than 500 people working at it. There are three main types of businesses that we are going to look at. The first is nonprofit, the second is not-for-profit, and the third and most common type of business is a for-profit business. So what is a nonprofit versus a not-for-profit business? A nonprofit business is an organization that is formed solely for the purpose of serving the public and not for generating a profit. Profits are the money you get after all of the expenses are actually The costs are the amount of money required for each stage of production, such as the cost of raw materials. If you wanted to create a coffee stand, you would need to buy the coffee, buy the water, hire a worker, and build the stand. Those are considered the raw materials, or the cost of doing business. The goal is to make a profit while keeping expenses and costs down. Profit equals revenue, which are the sales minus your expenses, which are your costs. Now we are going to look at the forms of business ownership. There are 5 main types of business ownership. Number 1, sole proprietorships. Number 2, partnerships. Number 3, corporations. Number 4, cooperatives. And number 5, franchises. Again, make sure you're filling out the chart you've been provided in this lesson. So before we move on, I'm going to discuss liability, as you'll see this word throughout the entire course. The liability is the state of being responsible for something, especially by law. Liability is used in business in that whoever is conducting business, they have liability, that is responsibilities, to their business, their customers, and their shareholders. We'll be looking at liability a lot throughout this course. The first one we will look at is sole proprietorship. It is characterized by being owned by one person. The startup capital, or the money used to create the business, comes from the owner's pocket or in the form of a loan from the bank in the person's name. The advantages to a sole proprietorship business are it's easier to administer or run the business when it's just one person. It's less expensive than having partners involved. And the business income is taxed as personal income, which gives the owner a tax break at tax season. The major disadvantage of a sole proprietorship is the unlimited liability involved, which means if everything goes wrong, one person can lose everything. For a partnership, it is operated by 2 or more individuals who want to share costs and responsibilities of running a business. There are 2 different types of partnerships, a general partnership and a limited partnership. A general partnership is the most common type of partnership. It has unlimited liability for all partners. So that means if there's 2 or 6 people that own the business, they all have equal responsibility within the business. A limited partnership are those partners that are only responsible for paying back the amount they have invested or put into the partnership. Usually they are considered a silent partner and cannot assist in managing the business, but they don't have as much liability. The advantages of having a partnership is that partners could have complementary skills. For example, one may be a sales expert while the other might be an accountant, which would help the business. The second one is there might be more money to invest in the business than if it was just all on one person, like in a sole proprietorship. A disadvantage is that partners may disagree on many elements of the business that could lead to legal issues and wasting time. Violation of the partnership agreement, lawsuits against your partner, these things and more. Now we're going to be looking at corporations. So corporations are a lot bigger than just a sole proprietorship or a partnership. It is a business that has been granted legal status with rights, privileges, and liabilities that are distinct and separate from those of the people that work for the business. Corporations can be as small as one person or as large as a multinational business operating in many countries. The difference is there are shareholders and not just owners of the business. Most corporations are owned by individuals, families, or small groups of people. Large corporations are divided into shares or stocks because having it run by one or two people would be inefficient and it's just too big of a business. Once shares of the business have been sold, the corporation becomes publicly owned. Individuals who buy these shares or stocks are called shareholders. The more shares that a shareholder owns, the more control they have in the business. Due to a large number of owners or shareholders, a board of directors is usually put in place to actually run the corporation when the business is quite large. This board of directors makes most of the big decisions for the company. Shareholders have limited liability. If the company makes a profit, it can put back into the company to expand operations and pay the rest out as a dividend. It's like a bonus to all of the shareholders at the end of each period. A dividend is the total profit divided by the total number of shares. So the more shares a shareholder has, the more money they'll get when they're paid out a dividend. There are three main types of corporations: a private corporation, a public corporation, and a crown corporation. The first one we'll look at is a private corporation. In a private corporation, only a few people control all of the shares or stock and therefore control the business. Shares and stock are not listed on the stock exchange. That means that random people cannot invest or buy shares of this company. It is private to the owners. Examples are Sobeys, Costco, and McCain. A public corporation, on the other hand, raises money by making shares available on the stock exchange. Basically, what that means is they start to sell shares to anybody who is willing to invest in the business. Shareholders become owners in the business. 10 shares equals 10 votes on what's going to happen with the business. Major public corporations include Coke, RIM, Apple, TD Bank, and thousands and thousands more. The last type of corporation is a crown corporation. It is a business that is operated by the provincial or federal government. It provides services to local citizens. Examples include the Via Rail Line, the Canadian Broadcasting Company or CBC, Atomic Energy of Canada, and many more. The next type of business we will look at is a cooperative. A cooperative is owned by the workers or by the members who provide the products or use the services that the business offers. Regardless of how many shares a member owns, they each have one vote. Profits are distributed based on how large of a monetary contribution they give to the company. Example, a member who buys $5,000 worth of goods or services will receive a dividend 5 times as large as someone who only invests $1,000 worth of goods and services. Examples of cooperative businesses include Mountain Equipment Co-op, Gailey Foods Cooperative of Canada, and the Canadian University Press. All of these businesses are owned by the members and the consumers who purchase the products and services. The last type of business we're going to look at are franchises. Usually it's a large corporation that has decided to allow other people to own part of the business. The franchisor, example a McDonald's, licenses the right to its name, operating procedure, designs, and business expertise to another small business, which is called the franchisee. So that's basically any Joe Schmo who wants to own his or her own McDonald's restaurant. The franchisor and franchisee are independent businesses affiliated for the agreement only. A franchisee must pay a franchise fee in addition to a monthly fee to the franchisor. So while the franchisor has responsibilities to its franchisee, the franchisee has many responsibilities back to the corporation. A franchisee must also pay local and national advertising costs, Sometimes that's 1% of their sales, and all supplies must be purchased through the franchise. That means they can't go out and purchase their own marketing materials. It must come from the franchisor. And that's the end of this lesson presentation. Make sure you filled out your chart and go back through the video if you need clarification on anything. Continue on with the lesson.